Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're going to be, exploring a fictional world through excerpts from a story about an old man and his friend.
Sounds intriguing.
It really is. And it's interesting because the old man is named Herbert, he's human, and his friend Charlie is an ape.
Okay, I'm already hooked. Give me the details. Where are these characters? What's the setting like?
Well, picture this. The edge of a jungle that's slowly but surely being transformed into a city.
Ah, I see. So there's this tension between nature and urbanization already.
Exactly. And right in the middle of it all are Herbert and Charlie sitting on a bench under a banyan tree, observing the changes around them.
Okay, I can practically see it. Two old friends, witnesses to a changing world. What are they like, though? These characters, I mean.
Well, Herbert the human, he's described as a bit grumpy, set in his ways, but also very insightful, kind of like that uncle everyone has that always has something to say about everything.
I know the tech.
Yeah. And Charlie the ape is, well, he's more philosophical, a little mischievous, always looking at things from a different angle.
That's a great contrast. It sounds like they could have some really interesting conversations.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Right away, one line really jumps out at you and captures their dynamic. It's when Charlie says to Herbert, "Og du har alltid varit din gamle." And Herbert replies, "Du har alltid varit filosofen."
Huh. I love it. You can feel the history between them, the years of friendship and banter in just that one exchange. Makes you wonder, what they've been through together.
Definitely. And they jump right into sharing their thoughts on the modern world. Herbert is especially critical of technology.
Oh, what does he say?
Well, at one point he says, "I'm into to have Aben or Vex newer to the bare tweets of hashtags."
Wow. Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling. Like something's been lost in the way we communicate now.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It's like Herbert's longing for a time when words had more weight, when communication was more deliberate.
It makes you think, have we sacrificed depth for speed? Do we really connect with each other or just fire off quick messages? I mean, what do you think? Does Herbert have a point?
I think he does.
Mhm.
It's easy to get caught up in the constant flow of information and forget to really listen, to really connect.
Definitely. And it sounds like it's something that really bothers Herbert.
Oh, absolutely. But then you have Charlie, he brings in a totally different perspective.
Really? What's his take?
Well, he seems more focused on humanity's obsession with control and ownership. He says, "I bigger altid eroberer eger wie aber wie eger ikke junglen wie leven met den."
That's a really interesting point. He's highlighting a fundamental difference in how humans and animals approach the world. Humans want to possess, to dominate, while animals, in his view at least, seem more focused on coexistence.
It's like he's advocating for a simpler way of living. Less about material possessions, more about being in harmony with nature. Makes you wonder, is there a middle ground somewhere?
Definitely something to think about. So they're pretty serious about the state of the world. Do they ever lighten up?
Oh yeah, for sure. Their conversations are full of witty back and forths, especially about getting older and feeling irrelevant. It's actually pretty funny.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, there's this one part where Charlie basically encourages Herbert to just yell at the world, to get all his frustrations out.
I love that. I mean, we've all felt that way at some point, right? Just wanting to scream into the void.
Absolutely. And it's like a reminder that sometimes you just need to let it out, to find a way to laugh at the absurdity of it all.
Yeah.
And I think it also speaks to the power of friendship. Having someone who gets you, who lets you vent and doesn't judge.
Totally agree. It sounds like Herbert and Charlie have that kind of bond.
They do. But they also have these deeper, more philosophical conversations about, well, about the state of humanity, the big questions.
Like what kind of questions are they grappling with?
Well, at one point, Herbert asks, "Tror du detta får sent att fixa till manergeg?"
Wow. Heavy stuff. And that's a question a lot of us are probably asking ourselves these days. I mean, with everything going on in the world, it's easy to feel a sense of despair.
Yeah. But even though Herbert seems to be leaning towards that despair, Charlie offers a different perspective.
What does he say?
He emphasizes focusing on making each moment better, rather than getting bogged down by the overwhelming scale of the problems.
So instead of dwelling on the big picture, focus on what you can control, what you can do right now to make things a little bit better. I like that. It's a more hopeful approach.
Definitely. It's like he's saying even small acts of kindness or just choosing to find joy in the present moment can contribute to a better future.
Absolutely. And that leads perfectly into their decision to climb a hill. It's almost like a metaphor, don't you think?
Oh, I definitely think so. The hill represents the challenges, the obstacles we face in life.
And it'll be interesting to see how they approach that climb, given their very different personalities. And you're right, their attitudes toward the climb couldn't be more different. Herbert, well, he's not exactly thrilled about the idea.
No surprise there. I mean, he's the one who's always complaining about his aching joints.
Oh, yeah. Every step of the way, he's grumbling about how steep the hill is, how much his knees hurt. You can practically hear him wheezing.
I know, right? But Charlie, well, he's like a completely different species when it comes to this climb. He's practically skipping up the hill.
Always the optimist.
Totally. And he's constantly making light of the situation, poking fun at Herbert's struggles.
Do you remember any of the things he says to Herbert? I bet it's hilarious.
Oh, definitely. At one point, he even jokes, "Oh, come on, Herbie. This isn't even a hill. It's a disappointed anthill."
Uh-huh. I love that. It's so Charlie, finding humor in everything.
I know. And it really highlights their contrasting personalities. Herbert's fixated on the difficulty and the discomfort, while Charlie chooses to see the challenge as, well, kind of like an adventure, an opportunity to, maybe even enjoy the journey.
And don't you think there's a deeper message there? Something about perspective and mindset?
Oh, absolutely. It's like a reminder that we can choose how we approach challenges in life. Do we focus on the negative, or do we try to find a little bit of joy, even in the tough times?
Right. It's like, do we let our expectations color our experiences, or do we try, like Charlie, to make the most of it?
I mean, think about it. How often do we get bogged down by negativity and end up missing out on the good stuff?
All the time. I know I do. But it's also true that their little trek up the hill is also kind of a metaphor for the internal struggles we all go through.
You mean like the ups and downs of life?
Exactly. There are moments of doubt and frustration and even, pain, but there's also the potential for growth and change.
And for feeling like you've accomplished something in the end.
Exactly. Reaching the top of your own personal mountain, so to speak.
And speaking of reaching the top, even Herbert has to admit that it was worth it in the end.
Really? He actually comes around.
He does. He even kind of jokes with Charlie. "Okay, you win, Charlie. It was worth it." It's a small moment, but I think it says a lot about Herbert.
How so?
Well, it shows that he's capable of letting go of his negativity, at least for a moment, and acknowledging the beauty of what's around him.
That's a good point. It's like he's finally letting himself be present in the moment.
Exactly. And then, of course, Charlie, being Charlie, he just has to chime in with one of his profound insights.
What does he say?
He says, "Et lever ik nacht mansklau, have solskin fried og a little smokish."
Wow, what a statement. It sounds so simple, but it's actually so deep.
It really is. It's like he's saying that simply existing isn't enough. We need those things that make life worth living. The sunshine, which I guess represents joy, love, purpose, those things that nourish our soul.
And the freedom to choose our own path, to express ourselves authentically. And let's not forget the cookie.
The cookie.
Yeah. A little indulgence, a reminder to savor the simple pleasures in life.
It's such a great image. Sunshine, freedom, and a cookie. What more could you ask for?
Right. It makes you think, what are those essential ingredients for a fulfilling life? What's your sunshine, your freedom, your cookie?
It's a question worth considering. And it makes me think back to a moment earlier in the story when they're still under the banyan tree watching the city grow around them. Remember how Herbert says,
Yes, I remember. Like the jungle is almost a living thing pushing back against the expansion of the city.
Exactly. That tension between the natural world and human development. It's a theme that runs throughout their whole conversation.
And then Charlie, with his heightened senses, adds his own perspective on the city. He says, Lukter som rodne ambitioner blanded med biludstending.
Oh, yeah. And he adds, Smager heller ikkebedre.
It's like he finds the city repulsive on a sensory level. And I think that rodne ambitioner line, it's a really interesting choice of words.
What do you think it means?
Well, I think it's a commentary on greed and materialism, the driving forces behind all that urban sprawl. Like those ambitions have gone bad, become something toxic.
That's a good point. It makes you think about the impact our choices have on the environment, on the world around us, and how progress isn't always a good thing.
Exactly. And it makes Charlie's earlier statements about living in harmony with nature even more poignant.
It really does. And it's almost as if Herbert senses that too, because he asks Charlie a very direct question. Ogwad smager livet af so, den selvut naf de gourmet.
Like he's challenging Charlie to define the essence of life.
And Charlie being Charlie, he doesn't disappoint.
What does he say?
He says, Aflete, tu tuatage on bidaf.
Wow. It's so simple, but so profound.
Right. It's like he's saying life is a buffet of experiences, and we have to be brave enough to try them all.
To really savor the flavors, even the bitter ones.
And to not be afraid of getting stuck, as he puts it.
Because sometimes getting stuck is actually how we grow and learn the most.
That's a good point. But I'm curious, what do you think Charlie means by stuck? I think he's talking about those times when we hold back, play it safe, avoid taking risks because we're afraid of the consequences.
Like we're so focused on not making a mistake or not getting hurt that we end up missing out on all the good stuff too.
Yeah. But Charlie seems to be suggesting that those stuck moments, those times when we feel uncomfortable or lost, they can actually be the most valuable because they force us to grow.
To confront our fears, to step outside of our comfort zones.
Exactly. And it's interesting because later on Herbert makes this observation about the people in the city below. He says, Alt for Bengelet liv, alt for optigedav vad andra syns. Det är nästan som om min längre till Robes hurts.
It's a pretty bleak picture, isn't it? Like everyone's so worried about what others will think that they've lost their own voices.
It's like they're living these muted lives, afraid to stand out or express themselves authentically.
And of course, Charlie being Charlie, he has something to say about that too.
What does he do?
Well, he basically challenges Herbert to break free from that fear. He says, Robla, berengang, lad hele benhördig.
It's a call to action, isn't it?
Yeah.
To speak your truth, to let your voice be heard.
Exactly. And you know what? Herbert actually does it. He stands up and yells, Scrabble word! It's this moment of pure release. Like he's finally letting go of all that pent-up frustration and anxiety.
It must have felt amazing, like a weight lifted off his shoulders.
And afterwards he says, For Bondi God. Like he realizes the power of just letting it all out, of not holding back anymore.
It's a reminder to all of us, isn't it? To not be afraid to speak up, to be ourselves, even if it feels a little scary.
Exactly. So we've talked about a lot today. We've explored technology, humanity's flaws, the power of friendship, and the importance of finding your voice.
And the importance of embracing life fully, even the messy parts.
Especially the messy parts. Those are the parts that make us who we are.
Right. And perhaps the biggest takeaway from all of this is that simple but profound statement from Charlie. At lever ikonok manskal, have solskin, fried all den little smokage.
It's such a great reminder to not just exist, but to really live, to seek out those things that bring us joy, to be free to be ourselves, and to savor the simple pleasures in life.
Sunshine, freedom, and a cookie. What more could you ask for?
And I think that's a great place to leave it for today.
It is. And to our listeners out there, I'd like to ask you, what are your sunshine, freedom, and cookies? What are you doing to make sure you're experiencing them every day? Food for thought as we wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.